We are live and we are ready to go. So, can you want to get this right here is a prime example of how I'm feeling today. I just told Alexa I think I drank too much coffee. My vision is going strange and I feel like my mind is working at 1,000 miles an hour and my mouth can't catch up. So if I keep stumbling my words, my bad. Just finished coaching a class, my adrenaline is high and the excitement is real. Had a Taylor visit, he's been doing a couple of my programs for a while now and it was really cool to be able to see really how much impact we've had on so many people's lives that we don't really get to see or talk to every day. And for that to come in here, and he knows you too, he did Embrace, he did the whole meal plan. Him and Alexa, Lexi is his girlfriend, they've submitted their application together. Do you remember that? I remember the first challenge they did, they submitted and they had both their before pictures side by side. They kind of did it as a team. And let me tell you, his body has transformed, he's got an 8-pack. Wow. So like, if we put the volume down on both of those phones, it should be okay. So we've got an Instagram Live, a Facebook Live, and YouTube all going on at the same time here. So I just wanted to give you guys a couple moments to kind of get in and get on and kind of understand what we're going to do today. So Alexa and I are going to be going through this Facebook, Instagram Live thing to talk about Find the Road. Find the Road is an ebook that I'm going to be dropping very soon. I want to say the date, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Do it.
Oh shit.
Go for it.
Alright, here we go.
Accountability.
First time. Accountability is coming in hot right here. So, on Monday, the 20th, this will be available for you guys. I just said that. Woo! We better get going. So, to kind of give you a little bit of a backstory, first of all, I'm Hannah, this is Alexa. Alexa is, well, you can let them know what you do for them.
I'm her health and nutrition coach, in a nutshell.
Exactly, so everything that I do, I am obsessed with programming, I'm obsessed with fitness. I know a lot about nutrition, but I know a lot about nutrition for me. And I am not necessarily in a position where I have the bandwidth to be able to create all of these nutritional programs for all of the people that follow my training program as well. That's kind of my lane. I like to say that in our office is to stay in your lane. So rather than trying to blur the lines between the lanes, I decided to, a couple of years ago, bring Alexa onto the team and she's been a huge part of it ever since. So all the ebooks that I write, Alexa writes all the nutrition and the health coaching that goes behind those. So we're a pretty solid team, but we've been through a lot and we started having this random conversation the other day about kind of the journey since we've known each other and how Find the Road came about. And Alexa was actually a test, or I guess it could be like a test body, right, for the program. And I want her to give you guys kind of her story and her feelings about Find the Road. And I wanted to give you guys a bit of a backstory as to why it came about. So, a lot of you probably know this, and a lot of you may not. In the last year, a lot has changed. My social media has grown a lot. But over the last year, I haven't really talked about it much because it was a pretty open wound and a painful part of my life that I was trying to heal and kind of move forward from. But in March last year, one of my really great friends passed away and lost the battle to terminal colon cancer while being 6 months pregnant. So it's a pretty crazy thing to really talk about, and now that it's easier to talk about it, I wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of a backstory behind Find the Road. I'm not a runner by any means, and I'm going to say that now. I'm not a professional runner, I've never claimed to be a professional runner, but what I do know is that I went from not being a runner and kind of made myself into a runner by following a training program, and with consistent hard work I learned a lot about running. So I decided to get everything that I learned about running and put it into this book for you guys and for my gym here in Fort Lauderdale. So I made a 14-week running program to prepare anyone, whether you're a beginner or a pro, maybe who knows where you're at in your game, to be able to handle a 13.1 miles without leaving and feeling scarred. Because I think a lot of people have these aha moments or these kind of situations where they're in their life and they're like, shit, you know what? I'm gonna run a marathon or I'm gonna run a half marathon, and put zero training into it and come out of it with injuries, come out with it thinking that they absolutely hate running, that they would never do anything like that again, and that's purely because the preparation was not there for that kind of distance, which is a long, long way. So, backstory on this, let's keep going back a little bit further. Whenever Jess was diagnosed with cancer, it rocked my world, and I felt like it was probably the only thing in my life thus far that was totally out of my control, and I felt super helpless. But I knew that I needed to do something, so I had been great friends with Jess. Jess and Jeff had both been very goal-oriented people since the day that I've known them, which is a very long time. And I wanted to give them a visual goal to work towards, which would be me running the entire ring road of Iceland, around the entire country. And it kind of started as a joke in the hospital room, but it became very real, and we started getting pictures and looking up Iceland and giving this visual goal of something to hold on to. And I think that that's just a great example of kind of what I did for myself during this during this experience, and that I think that most people should kind of look for something like this too during the hardest times, which is a goal, whatever that may be, because it gives you structure, it gives you protocol, and it gives you some form of sense of normalcy when the entire world is just literally crashing down around you. So I decided I was going to do it. I read it online. It was 828.6 miles. I had never ran very far in my life before, and I thought, shit, the only time I've ever done anything as crazy as this was when I was invited to go to Haiti and run 230 miles, which I did do, but I didn't train for it, and it was miserable. And I got very frustrated during the event because my body gave out before my mind did. And that's bullshit. That's just irresponsible training on my part, because when you're going to do something so as extreme as that, you can't expect, no matter who you are or where you're at in your fitness game, for your body to be able to handle that if you haven't prepared yourself for it. I don't think that it's impossible, but the time needs to be put in. So because of that, it was so much pain to try and get past these miles. I thought, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it right. And as much as I'm a coach, and a lot of people in the world know me as this fitness instructor, I need a coach, and every coach should have a coach, because I'm not good at running. I was never a runner. I knew nothing about it. Although I'm extremely fit in one modality, doesn't mean that I'm going to be great at anything in any other modality. So I got myself a coach, Amanda Basham. It's my girl. She is an ultra runner and fucking crazy, and has the world's most epic calf muscles that I've ever seen in my life. But she's amazing. She's tiny and she runs 100 miles for fun. So I thought, this is the kind of chick that I need in my corner. I need to get someone that understands what I'm doing, isn't going to try and tell me not to do it, because it is so extreme, and it has the same kind of mindset and mentality that I do, that I want to stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves. I have this huge social media platform that we've managed to grow over the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't really want to use it for likes, because I don't give a fuck about any of that shit, and I'd rather use it to do something very powerful and great and give back to the world that is unfortunately going through a bunch of shit right now, in a positive way, right? So we did that, and I got a coach. I had a training program. I followed it every single day. It gave me a reason to keep wanting to wake up every day, because apart from that and this mission that I had set and committed to for Jessica and for anyone else that had been through cancer, all I wanted to do is stay home and cry myself to sleep and not face what was really going on. So it gave me this reason, and I talk about that all the time, right? To find your reason. Well, Jess and Iceland was my biggest reason of 2018. Okay, every single day that I woke up was for a reason, and it was for that, which is kind of helps you keep moving forward with some sanity and feels like you have some normalcy, because it's structure in this protocol when there's no structure in the rest of the life, right? So I made this happen, and I realized that it worked. I was training every day. I started as an absolute rookie, as a beginner. I remember my first run, it was like, run for 20 minutes. At like 60% of your effort level. Well, fuck me, 20-minute run on the first time I've ever done it. I was gassed at LA Fitness, late night, wondering, I don't know if I can do this. I had so much pain up my shins, my Achilles, my knees, my IT bands are wrecked, my hip flexors are wrecked, my psoas is wrecked, but I kept showing up. I kept doing my recovery, I kept doing what she was saying. I just trusted the process, and I trusted my coach. I remember as the program started to progress, they went from these 20-minute runs to 30 to 40 to 50, and at the end of my journey, I was biking and running like 3, 4, 5 hours a day, just to build that volume up. And it worked. And every time I would do it, I would never try and go from a beginner and jump to an advanced level. I would humble myself and check my fucking ego and realize that I need to start from the foundations and the basics to get better at this. There's structure behind everything we were doing. I learned a lot that you don't always run distance if you're trying to get better at running distance. You need to increase your VO2 max. You need to do tempo runs. You need to make sure that you're doing fartlek training. You need to make sure that you're doing distance training as well as interval training. And there's strides that need to help you with your motor function. And there's just so much that goes behind training for running. Even though it's the same movement pattern over and over again, there is so much that goes behind it. So to kind of wrap this up on my side, I learned so much about the shoes, about what to eat, what kind of hydration gear to use, what kind of chafing cream to use, what kind of recovery tools to use. I mean, everything. And I put it all into this ebook that I quickly want to show you guys, which is called Find the Road, which is going to be preparing for 13.1 miles. And you'll see right here, it's a 14-week goal. The goal is 13.1 miles. what date is blank for you guys to leave for yourself, and I've had this website right here that's called racefind.com. So you guys can set a goal for yourselves as soon as you get this book. Go on racefind.com, put in your zip code or maybe a destination that you would like to do a half marathon at, find one and fucking book that shit.
That's really cool.
Yeah, right? Like, hold yourself accountable, get yourself set up, locked and loaded with this goal, and then make it happen. And I told you what to expect in the program, what kind of runs we're going to be doing, some of my experience through Iceland, some of the best shoes, the best heart rate monitors, the best gear, and then it goes through your entire training program all the way through. We have certain drills that we'll do every day that I have videos of to help you guys know that it's very repetitive, but we're doing the same thing every day. So the only way to get better at that is to be consistent at the same thing, right? So that's the whole idea about that. But I wanted to bring Alexa in, and I'm going to stop talking now, because Alexa was one of the people that joined my run club that started with 12 people here at Fort Lauderdale, and they all have actually done this program. I wrote this program a long time ago as a test, and these guys were the kind of the guinea pigs, and I'm going to hand it over now and kind of let Alexa take it from here.
Okay.
Or I guess, like,
well,
about your experience.
Yeah. So I'll start off by saying, like, what kind of a runner I was beforehand.
Absolutely.
Because I had never, that was my first half marathon. So I joined the run club and I was like, this is a cool goal to, you know, half marathon, set an intention for who I want to run it for, and, you know, just train for it. And I had never done that before, so I was like, this is going to be cool. But prior to that, I had only run a couple of miles, 2-3 miles. I had done 5Ks here and there, and then I actually took a long break from running, so I was doing a lot of like the high intensity here at Pump and CrossFit and just like a mixture of like the weight training, so I kind of took a break from running, so I thought it would be cool to get back into running. And I like how you did the training program where it was like not distance every single day, like it wasn't about that, it wasn't about like all this volume at once, which I really liked that.
And I'll explain that real quick because it's a really good point. So we had 12 people. Some of them were runners that were soccer players, that their cardio endurance is ridiculous. Some of them had never ran more than 1 mile before. Some of them were kind of most of them were kind of in your boat. I've run a couple miles here and there, done a couple 5Ks, but it's not something that I consistently do. I've never put the effort in to consistently do it. I had Jim Daisy, that is an avid marathon runner, but he says that he's never actually trained entirely for any of the races he's done. So he was curious to see, and he was a very good runner, but he was like, I'm curious to see what else I could do if I actually put the time in for 14 weeks before this race to make it happen. So I was like, ooh, okay. I can't put down on this paper, and this is what I also learned with my coach, is that I never ran for distance until the very end of the program, when I really had started to have to think about the strategy behind these 828.6 miles. But what this training program did was it gave me a time to work for and an effort level, a rate of perceived effort to run at. So all 12 of us would get in this big park every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which are our core 3 running days. There's some recovery runs in between, but those are your 3 days a week that are mandatory in my mind if you want to succeed with this training program. And we would have this big loop around this park. Now, I had a whistle that could reach everyone, but obviously you guys will be on your own, or if you want to do this with a friend, this is how you can make it happen. Is someone is in control of the time. So for example, one of the runs might say, warm up for 10 minutes. So you start a clock from 0 to 10, you're going to be warming up, and I will go through the dynamic drills on that warm up in a video for you. Then it will say 20 seconds, oh, let's go to a different one. Here we go. 4 minutes on, 3 minutes off. 5 minutes on, 3 minutes off. 6 minutes on, 3 minutes off. Now, 3 minutes on for me, my pace might be a lot different than Alexa's, but I know that our rate of perceived effort has to be at an 8 out of 10. So 80% of your effort level you have to run for that amount of time. Now, we would just run around the circle and I would blow my whistle when the time is up. I'd probably run a little bit further than most, and everyone would have their own heart rate monitor or distance tracker on their wrist, so they could see where they were at with the time given. Now, with that kind of being said, that's exactly how every day was. We would go for 30 minutes, run for 30 minutes. Now, you can run it however fast you want, as long as it is at your correct RPE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it just keeps the training interesting. I felt like, you know, if you were to come and say, okay, run 5 miles every day, like I would have got bored really fast, but that kept it really interesting for me.
Oh, that actually reminded me. So day 1 in Iceland, I had set out and said, okay, structured. You will complete 108 miles a day. You will do 25 miles on the bike, 20 miles on the road, 50 on, I had all these structured numbers set out for me. Day 1, we try to do this. The weather, the conditions, everything you can think of was working against us to get these miles done. And on day one, the idea was to work and be able to do all those miles within about a 12-hour time frame, and then we would be able to rest and recover for 12 hours because I'd have to do this for 8 or 9 days straight, and there's no way I could do it without sleep, recovery, and nutrition. So day one we did it, but we didn't finish until like 3 or 4 in the morning because I was so stubborn to hit these miles that it would have fucked up the entire trip. So I had a pep talk with myself that night and said, Hannah, we are not going to be running for distance. You are going to work for 12 hours. Whatever you do in those 12 hours is it. And no matter where you're at, you're going to stop and we're going to pick up tomorrow and we're going to go right back to where you finished and we're going to start again. With that mentality of not having that pressure of these numbers on my mind, I hit every single distance every day. I think there was one day that we just had to accept that we couldn't do it, and it wasn't even because of the distance, it was the conditions of the traffic and it was just dangerous. So we had to sleep during the day and pick up again and go through the night. But point being, when you have these hard numbers on yourself, it becomes a lot of pressure and it becomes stressful. So whenever you just kind of loosen up on yourself and allow your body to kind of reach its potential, just do what you can, do your best, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and actually a book that I'm reading, it's like your best is not going to be the same every single day. Just
That's
do your
so
best,
true.
but like one day you're going to be feeling 100% on point, and the next day you might not, but still show up and do your best, you know? 'Cause
Right.
no matter what, you're going to be improving. So
That's really awesome.
yeah.
So throughout your experience of the run club, tell them the truth, tell them all of it.
Yeah. All right. So the truth is, I started off really good. I started off strong in the training.
Extremely consistent.
I felt like I loved coming to Run Club, like it was exciting. And then about halfway through, I think, I went on a trip for 2 weeks to Bali. And that really, I thought I was going to run when I was over there, and I really didn't, because I didn't want to run.
Hey, listen, you were there for like a yoga retreat. Lots of
Yoga retreat,
yeah.
like, you know, whatever, but I didn't want to be running through like this foreign country when I didn't have GPS, I didn't know where I was going.
True.
There's like, it just was,
Scary.
a little intimidating. So, and then other than that, I was like, yeah, there's a treadmill, but I didn't get motivated to run on the treadmill. So that broke up my training, and then when I got back, I was like, I had it in my mind, like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep going to the you know, run club and just do what I can do, and I might not do the race. Like, I hadn't signed up for it yet. This was really bad.
Which is why you should sign up on day
just
one.
sign up and commit to it, because the fact that I did not sign up, I had this little thing in the back of my head that was like, it's okay if
I
you
haven't
don't.
signed up yet.
Yeah, like, and it's all right if you don't finish all the training. Like, it's just fun. You come out here for fun, right? Because I was actually having fun at Run Club. So then, sure enough, as the weeks would go by, I started missing runs at Run Club, and slowly that thought in the back of my head became to the forefront, and it was like, all of a sudden, a week before the race, I remember telling her, I'm not going to do the race. I'm just going to come and support you guys. Like, I'm just not ready for it because I had missed so much training, and like...
Which really, in the grand scheme of things, you hadn't missed that much training. But we trained 3 days a week. You consistently came for half the program for about 7 weeks, which is a lot of training, 3 days a week. Missed maybe 1 or 2 here and there.
Yeah.
And then you would show up like maybe once a week rather than 3 times a week. So don't get me wrong, she was still training.
Yeah.
It's not like you weren't doing anything, but in your mind, I think because you had missed a few of these, that you had really felt, well, I can't do it then.
Yes. And I missed a lot of the long runs, which was my biggest challenge mentally. Was
So help you guys understand that. A Monday and a Wednesday. A Monday is always an interval run. A Wednesday is always a tempo run, and then a Friday was always your distance run. So I would either say run for 30 minutes and see how far you could get, and then I put like an approximate goal from beginner to intermediate to advanced of average around X to X miles. That would be a kind of a goal for you. Then every week it would increase so that we could see what the interval and the tempo training was doing for our distance every Friday. So that helped a lot.
And I feel like I didn't get burnt out because of that. You know what I mean? Like you said, increase your VO2 max, so that it helps my cardiovascular a ton, even though you don't think it is because you're not running these super long runs. Going back to Jim, remember, he started off with your training, and then he's so addicted to running those long distances.
Yeah, he couldn't stick to the program,
He couldn't stick to it, and then he got burnt out.
Yeah,
and he started getting injuries,
he got a stress fracture.
Right.
And then couldn't actually complete the race. And that is something that is really important for you guys if you are going to be doing this training program, is discipline. And don't be stubborn, because there's a lot of time in here that you're like, what the fuck am I doing? And everyone in the run club would be like, why are we doing this if we're trying to run a half marathon? And I would be like, just listen. Trust the process. You do not run distance to get better at distance. The more miles you put on your body, the more you're going to wear that body down. So we need to make sure that it's healthy enough for the distance race of itself. So let's work out strategically on the other days to get better at that distance. So you'll only notice that it's not like you're running 10 hours a day. For the beginning of part of the training, it's 30 minutes every Monday and Wednesday. Then it will increase to 45. Then it will increase to 60. Then 75. Then 90. And then we will start to get further distances as you get closer towards your goal. But that's way beyond, that's right at the end there. So the point that you're saying, the VO2 max, the only way to increase your VO2 max is to push it when you're in your peak. So that means we've got to get that heart rate up so high, and when you feel like it can't go higher, to fucking keep it there just a couple extra seconds. So those are your short intervals with really high intensity. Rated perceived effort is 100%, but that you don't have to stay there for very long. Now, the higher your VO2 max technically means the fitter you are. The higher your VO2 max means the higher you can keep your heart rate for extended periods of time, meaning the distance. Obviously your heart rate is going to go up higher the longer you have to go, but we're going to adapt to become better at that with this interval training.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so
we're
going back.
Yeah, we were going back to, you thought that you had missed so many out, and you said, you know what, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, mentally I was like checked out. I was like, I'm just going to go for support, right? And then you texted me that night and you're like, listen.
Nay, sis.
No, she wouldn't let me quit. And so I went that night and I signed up for the race.
Fuck no, you put most of the work in. I refuse to let you quit at this point.
I
No
didn't
way.
believe in myself. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And so, that brings me to another point is like, if you feel like you have trouble with that, with your training, get an accountability partner. Get somebody who you know is going to hold you accountable for doing the race, because there is nothing like accomplishing a goal like that. You know, it was like huge for me. And like to have somebody supporting me was huge for me, because I had never really had that level of support. She basically was like, you set the pace, I will run the race with you 100%. And I was like, you don't have to do that. I'm going to want to slow you down. Like, you're faster than me.
Nay.
And she was like, no, I'm just doing this for fun, so.
It was the fun, because this was what was the date of that? Do you remember?
It was November 11th or November 14th. Somewhere around there.
And then I believe I was leaving like the day afterwards to go on this crazy work trip that we were running like 15 to 20 miles a day, so I didn't really want to start that crippled after this race. So I didn't race, I did it.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing as well. I always suggest that people sign up for a lot of races, and you'll see a lot of professional runners do a lot of marathons or half marathons, and you're like, how do you guys race so much? They're not racing all of them. They're training in a lot of them, so they do them and then they race some. So there's a big difference, right? For your training, and when you race, you put it all out there, but you shouldn't be doing that obviously back to back to back, but you should be doing these races or these distances to help your training stay in check.
Yeah. And I was pleasantly surprised by my results too, because I feel like for missing some of the long runs, the rest of the training had set me up cardiovascularly. I just basically was like, I'm not going to start off like shooting out of the barrel, right? I was like, I'm gonna start off at like a nice, slow, natural pace, and then hope to just like keep that pace over time. And you were able to like kind of push me a little bit when I needed it. And back to what you were saying about the mind-body thing, right? When my body was like, all my joints, my ankles, my knees, my hips were like, stop right now, stop running. And I was just like slowing down, felt like I was going through mud. My mind was like, I can't do anymore, because my body was telling me I couldn't do anymore. But that's when you were like, dedicate this mile to so-and-so. I had people in my mind that I was like, this is who I want to run this for, people who can't run. And so she would remind me of that. And it just, honestly, it made my mind go to a different place, and I was able to keep pushing through. So
yeah, and do you mind if I go there?
Go for it.
Okay, so I remember on the beach one day when we were talking about running, this is before the race kind of started, and all of this stuff always makes me so emotional, and I have no idea why, so I excuse myself right now if I start crying or something. But I do remember, and we were on the beach, and you were like, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I was like, no, Alexa, you don't have to do anything. You get to do this. Like, there are so many, and I think about that a lot, and I posted this morning, like, what do you think about in the middle of your workout? That is one thing that I think about. There's a lot of things that I think about. One of them is, there are people in this world that would do anything to just be able to walk outside and sit in their car before they drive home and wind down their window and like do the most simple things that we take advantage of. 100%. We get to do these things because we're healthy and we're able. A lot of people aren't. So just remind yourself that and shut the fuck up and move. And I think about that all the time for myself. It's like, we don't have to do anything. We choose to do this because we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that kind of fell back over to Alexa, and that was like, I remember that day, I was like, whoa, you know what, you're right, those are powerful words. I think that we all need to hear that sometimes, and I have to remind myself that sometimes, because I also have that voice in my head that tells me to quit and doubts everything that I want to do and tells me 1,000 reasons why I don't need to do this today. I mean, we all have it, but when we start to remind ourselves for a far greater reason as to continue that is not about us, then I think it kind of takes you out of that selfish mindset a little bit and realize that when I set out to do Iceland, it was never for me. I had to tell myself that every single day. Like, your pain is temporary, the stress fractures will heal, all of this will heal, but the people that have dedicated these miles to, just like you, they're in a totally different position than we are, so who am I to complain about this? You know, this was my choice to do this, so I will finish this with a good attitude and with a smile on my face.
Yes. So setting an intention, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
You know, think of somebody that is important to you and can't do whatever it is that you're going to do. And you accomplishing that is like, to me, you're sending that energy to them. Like, you're kind of just like, they're pushing you through something that might originally be tough for you, but they're helping to drive you through that because you're doing this for them. So it's like
absolutely.
It's kind of like a cool little exchange. But
and it's cool if you guys are going to do this to let that person know, because then that becomes a real situation. You know, I had people write us letters every day. Who am I dedicating these miles to? Why am I doing this? And it very quickly reminded me every morning that I didn't even feel the pain by the time it began, because now it's not about that. It's so much bigger than that. It's so for such a greater reason than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, this is going to be coming out on Monday for you guys. I know that it is a very niche thing. A lot of people don't like running, but I suggest that you do this for many reasons. Maybe you've had a goal of doing a half marathon. This is a great way to start and a great protocol to follow that will prepare you for that, and that you should be able to finish with a smile on your face. But number two, if you're stuck at a point in your life, I proved this to myself over and over again, and Iceland was one of them, and this book now and seeing other people do it too is another reason why, which is, if you're in a place in your life where you really need something to hold on to that gives you structure, because everything else is a disaster, whether that means relationship, career, wherever you are, any aspect of your life, I'm telling you, when you have structure and something that is organized to look forward to doing every day, it gives you a reason to get up and keep moving. And there is no way that you are going to regret a run when you're done. The feeling that you have is you're proud, you feel alive, you feel like you're kind of like floating and free, this runner's high. I used to think that was bullshit. And it is bullshit on day one. It is bullshit on week 2 and week 3. But when you get into it, week 4, week 5, and you put the work behind it, when you start to feel it, then you're going to smile and be like, now I understand what this runner's high is. Now I understand what these guys are talking about. But guys, it made me feel alive when I didn't want to be alive every day. And that is something that is huge. So it's setting your way through it and accomplishing a goal is a great way to level up your life. Whether that means it's in running, a challenge, a focus, embrace, whatever it is, or maybe you try and follow a certification or a promotion in job, whatever it is, this is a great way. Find the Road is a great way to level up your life, in my opinion. Do you want to talk about the nutrition?
Sure.